All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm Mike Ham. We're back in Asbury Park, New Jersey today with Rick Barry. We're at Georgie's Bar. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me into the bar. You know, like, Georgie's is a place that I've heard a lot about. Like, Tom at Mutiny Barbecue is a friend, a former guest of the show. He's like, every time he sees us that we're down here, he's like, you guys, like, I'll buy you a beer. Come to Georgie's, come to Georgie's, come to Georgie's. And finally, we made it here, and it's awesome, you know?
Yeah. Tom's the best, man. He's here. He's a big supporter of the bar. And, we love him here.
Yeah.
And it's a great spot. It really is. So welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you again. Okay, so I think maybe it might be good. Let's just do like a little history of Georgie's. I think we'll start there, and then we'll kind of get into like how you got involved with it, and then we'll get more into like your background and all that kind of stuff. We'll kind of take it from there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Georgie's, we just celebrated the 25th anniversary. My wife's uncle George opened it in 1999. It's Georgie's. It's not possessive. It's Georgie's plural. It was open.
Like more than one Georgie's.
More than one George.
Yeah.
It was opened in tribute to his partner who had died a year or two prior. And they basically, in the 90s, the story is that they really didn't have many places where two men could just go and be themselves.
Sure. And
just have a beer. They weren't like nightclub guys. He was a retired school teacher. He's a very private, quiet person. And so he wanted to make that place a place where everybody could feel welcome. So that's he did 99. He bought the place, and they've been keeping it going ever since.
Yeah, it's funny. Like we were just talking off mic before about like how like collecting the beer labels thing and the Love Lager that Wild Air did, and that was like a commemorative something, right? Or just like a collab one?
That was for a collaboration with Wild Air, just for Pride. For the first.
Got it. Yeah.
First Pride that we were involved.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like I come from now the world. There's so many breweries and like friends, like dentists,
sure.
Musician friends are doing collabs to promote albums and stuff with beer companies, and I just thought we should do something for Pride, have a special beer.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, because like when we left the brewery that day and I was holding the 4-pack when we were walking to the truck to leave, someone saw it and was like, oh yeah, like that place is awesome, like that's like a really important, they like made a comment like that, and I was like, oh wow, like we should go to Georgie's, like that's cool. And, now here we are. But and that's funny that you mentioned Dentist too, because like that's how we got connected. So we'll shout out Emily Borneman from Dentist, who introduced us, and she told me, and we're gonna get off track here, but that's kind of how these episodes go.
That's all right.
That you're the best musician in Asbury Park.
I doubt.
She said it
best musician.
Multiple times.
Well, that's very nice of her.
Listen, I don't know. I'm just taking her word for it.
Emily's always been a great sport. We were in a band together.
Okay.
No Wine for Kittens.
I remember her talking about that. I didn't realize that you were in that one.
Yeah, that's actually Emily and Justin met in that band.
Okay.
Technically, I introduced them because I said Justin was my bass player, and the only way to keep him happy playing bass in the Rick Barry band, or Rick Barry and the new Rick Barrys.
Yeah.
Featuring Rick Barry. The only way was to have a side project with him.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll tell you what, I'm only going to do it if I'm not the main singer. I said, you got to go out and you need to find a hot chick with tattoos to front the band, and preferably one that can sing and write songs as well.
Yeah.
And you found Emily.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually just recently, I was best man at their wedding, and I found the part of the speech that I wrote where I took credit for their entire relationship.
Yeah, like now their entire life. So at what point do you get involved here at Georgie's?
It's going on 2 years.
Okay.
And essentially, Uncle George, 2 years ago, was wanted to retire, step away from the day-to-day running of it. And I know people in the community who this place was important to, and we just kind of said, like, all right, we gotta step. I mean, I was coming around. I was like doing some painting and doing some maintenance work just to help out. And what would happen is I would meet a regular who would come up and introduce themselves, and they would say, if this place wasn't here 20 years ago, I would have killed myself.
Yeah.
And I heard so much of that. And at the same time, that this was about 2 months after the Saint had closed. And for me and a lot of my friends, when I was 18 years old, starting music, that was kind of, I know it's a completely different scenario, but it just reminded me of, like, that was a place where we had needed a place to go and express ourselves. And it just felt similar in that way. It struck a nerve, and just knowing how important it was to the community and the regulars, we just kind of said, like, all right, we got to, help, do our part and pitch in to keep this place around.
Yeah. Let's go into, like, your music background. So, music your whole life? Like, when did you start getting into music?
Probably, I guess I remember, like, pretending to be Bruce Springsteen when I was, like, probably 10.
Sure.
Right? And then, of course, when I was, like, 12 and actually learning to play guitar, I shunned everything Bruce Springsteen, and it was
rebelling.
all,
yeah, of course.
Screaming Trees and Mudhoney and, Pearl Jam, Nirvana.
Yeah.
And then I heard, Bob Dylan for the first time at my uncle's barbecue. He had bought the Greatest Hits Volume 1 that day, and he put it on, and I heard, Like a Rolling Stone for the first time that I can remember, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I borrowed the CD. I still have that copy. I never gave it back to him. My parents got me an acoustic guitar for Christmas that year. I started writing songs then, mostly just ripping off Dylan songs.
Sure.
But as we all do.
Yeah, yeah.
And continue to
Steal
do.
like an artist, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I essentially, for me, I think it kind of started as a way of self-expression, sure, but I think a large part of it was just trying to get girls when I was 14 years old.
Naturally. We all try our different ways. Mine was sports. I wasn't good enough, so.
Yeah, it's the same.
Podcasting, I'm engaged now, but it just, they're coming in
oh, yeah.
crazy.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But, that's essentially it. Started like that, and it just essentially at some point became like a compulsion.
Yeah. And did you grow up around here?
Yeah, Point Pleasant.
Okay, so not too far. So, I feel like...
Just across the Mason-Dixon line.
Sure, yeah. But I feel like, even at that time, like, there's still, like, a lot of music happening in this area around that time, right?
Yeah, there were a couple, like, the generation before me, there were a couple bands, Brown and Seven Minds were kind of big, but I wasn't old enough to get into the clubs.
Yeah.
There was a coffee shop in Point Pleasant, After Hours Cafe, where me and my friends hung out. And of my friends at Point Pleasant, I was really, more or less, I was the only musician who played, like, original songwriter.
Yeah.
And so I'd play there, like, every couple of weeks, and we packed the place and friends, and they were all very supportive. And when I turned 18, I started coming up to Asbury. There was a guy, John Ficarata, owned a CD store in Rockaway Beach CDs in Point Pleasant. And when I was a kid, I'd ride my bike down there, and I would just bother this fucking guy every day. So I'd just go and talk about music. I would never buy anything, so I didn't have any money. And like, I just remember, like, he thought I was, like, most annoying like dipshit on the planet.
Yeah.
And one day he said like, "Oh, you play guitar? Like, make me a tape of you playing guitar." And I gave him a tape, and it was of all originals. And back then, if I made a tape, I literally recorded into the tape, and that was the only copy of that.
Sure. Yeah.
And I came back the next day, and he's like, "You wrote those songs?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I'm gonna manage you. You're gonna be
You're gonna be huge. You
You're
got
gonna
it.
be big." And so at some point, I got a band together. We played the high school battle of bands. Right after I was asked to leave high school or left, I came back and did the battle of bands. And then Johnny Rockaway had given my CD to Scott Stamper from The Saint.
Oh, wow.
And he
There you
called
go.
me up and to Pete Manis and over to Kyle and them at the Pony, and I played a lot in the early 2000s. And still, it was like the little coffee shop. All those people, they just started driving their asses to Asbury to see me. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned too, like how important like the Saint was for you at that point in your life too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I don't know. I mean, even since, I mean, in the decades since, up until it closed, like my everything in my life is because of the Saint. The Saint was in some ways like it was the centerpiece of all of it.
Yeah.
Meeting my wife, my friends, the people, like all the people. I mean, I have friends from high school and stuff like that too. I keep in touch with, but all the people who are day to day a part of my life are somehow attached to that music community in that place and time, you know. And I was just talking about this the other day. I was in the building that was the Saint a few months back before the person who took it over. I went in and they were actually literally scraping a Rick Barry sticker off the wall. When I walked in, I was like, fuck. I watched them rip the stage up.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was asbestos under there. But I went in at one point before there, and it was dark, and it was lonely, and all the stuff was right where it was left. It was like it was a zombie apocalypse, and I realized, like I thought I'd be like so sad, like saying goodbye to this space, but it was like the Saint wasn't a place; it was a people,
Sure.
and a time.
Yeah.
And some of those people are gone, some of them for good, and other ones have moved on, and but yeah, it really was, like I said, a centerpiece.
Yeah. And I think like it's interesting that you say that too, because like, as we kicked off the episode talking about like the community here at Georgie's, and then like that community, and like places are important, but it's like the people around them that really make them special. And I do really, I mean, like knowing as many people now, like I'm not from down here, but now I know a lot of people from here, and some are like been here, lived here for forever, like Tom, like you, like other people like that. They kind of have like a hand in like what has made Asbury Park and like the whole community itself like super special. And obviously like there's a lot of other things that are happening that are kind of like taking it into like its next phase of life,
Yeah.
but still having places like this is important to remember kind of like where those things came from, and give those communities a place to interact and have fun and be together.
And that's the thing, is I think of a place like this, and to me it's, you can look at these pictures behind us of 25 years of memories. Like most of this I wasn't even here for. But it's, I look at it and I think about the people who are just turning 21.
Yeah.
And they don't, somebody, we were here for the block party and the anniversary party, and my wife's, another member of my wife's family was here, and he said that a younger woman came up and started asking him questions like, "Oh, is this place cool? Is this safe?" Like he could tell, like it was someone who was, from his words, that had never been here and was kind of feeling it out, like someone who was introducing themselves to the community.
Sure. Yeah.
and that's what I always think about is where, when I think about this saying, I think where does the 18-year-old Rick Barry in 2024 go to play music and express themselves? And it's, very different, but the same thing here. Like this place is here for people young. It's more about the young people. It's not about preserving the past.
Yeah, totally.
From my vision, it's not
yeah.
about preserving the past. It's about keeping the lights on, the doors open, and having a home for people, the young people who need it, who aren't necessarily part of a community yet.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's, like we said before, like super important. And like you said, like where would 18-year-old Rick Barry go now? And I think that having something like this, to that point, so this is going to come out in a couple weeks, but we are recording this on a Monday, and I think that that's cool because on Mondays you started doing something special for like that community and kind of like tying the two things together, essentially, right?
Yeah. I mean, I thought, we're ill-attended on Mondays anyway. We have a stage, we have a PA, and it's here for the community. Sean Start Running books it. I originally, I didn't want to be the booking guy for it. I don't want to be the gatekeeper for the LGBTQ music community.
Yeah.
I just said, my friend Avery Mandeville, Little Hag.
Oh yeah.
Gave me Sean's contact and said, this is the guy to do this, and he's been fantastic. He puts together great lineups, and it's been amazing so far. And it's great to see it coming here on a Monday, and it's a little music scene.
Yeah.
People hanging out, supporting, singing each other's songs, calling out original song titles to each other, and all that stuff that I experienced, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's great, and it, like you said, gives that, like you said before, like the Saint being like not a place, like a movement
people.
or a people. Yeah, exactly. But people still need a place sometimes, so it's good that you have a place and you can give that place to those people. Okay, I want to go back to your music because we haven't talked about it. Like we talked about it minimally. But we'll kind of get back into it. What other stuff have you done since like those kind of early show days at the Saint? That's a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's
it's a very broad question, but just like things that you're like hang your hat on, be like, this was really cool that I did this.
There's been a lot of awesome moments. I've shared the stage with a lot of amazing songwriters. It's weird. I've been doing this podcast now. I've been cleaning out my basement, and I found just a giant like box of unmarked CDs and DVDs, right? And I put them in, and it's a live recording from the Stone Pony or the Saint or whatever, and I'm listening to it. I'm trying to figure out who was playing in the band that day, who was opening the show, what year was it, what date was it, and I was just kind of cataloging them so I could throw the fucking CDs out. They're taking up space, but I also, want to save them onto a hard drive or something.
Yeah.
And I've been stumbling across all these things that I did or that we did, whatever collective I was working with at the time. And I'm always like, oh man, I forgot. I thought I dreamt that.
Yeah, right.
Like we did play Radio Free Europe at 1 o'clock in the morning and then whatever, so part of that is so I would say for 10 years I did the Holiday Hangover, which I started when I was 18 years old. I think Scott would only give me, the only night he would give me to headline was New Year's Day because no one wanted it.
Sure.
And we made it a thing. People came out, and so it was an annual tradition. And my friends would all get involved, and I'd showcase other local acts. And I totally, I remember I stopped doing it. I remembered how miserable I was being hungover as fuck and having to put on a show and then perform.
I was gonna say like January 1st is like I'm not doing anything. That
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
And I
It's
didn't.
like I'll be in the basement on the floor, you know.
I definitely never felt like it. Every year I would go, why the fuck do I do this? And so at some point went around and it was on a Monday again. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to do it Monday. So maybe I'll do it every 5 years or whatever. I think I did it one more time. And I only remember this because I found the CD of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we did one in 2015 or whatever. Those were cool. And just because listening back to it, and again, it's not like some big accolade, but hearing, the chatter in the crowd of people, some of whom are dead, some of whom I haven't spoken to in years, and that were part of it. Seeing that, we were so close. Like, that stuff means more to me than anything else. Probably, I did this series called The Night in Progress, where one Wednesday a month at the Saint, I would write and perform a whole new set, all new material, and I'd pick 3 other artists to do it, and I'd make them write a half hour's worth of material, all brand new, and play it. And I've seen some of those songs, turn into, like, go from that rough version to being on a record. My friend Allie Moss always helped me with that. There was also, there was Ian Axel, the band Great Big World. They had that song "Say Something."
Okay.
They played that at A Night in Progress.
Oh,
It was
wow.
written for, and then it was a huge hit song.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, they played that song. It was we did it at a church here in town or something. And so that's always been cool. And I've kept that up. During the pandemic, I did a lot by email, like everyone was quarantined, making my songwriter friends write songs. I'd say, go write me a children's song, children's country song about how, whatever, how the sun works. And,
Yeah.
and I mean, really, that's looking back and like listening to all this stuff and kind of being nostalgic about it. The times that I've been able to inspire my contemporaries to create something great that I get to sit back and listen to and enjoy as a music fan. That's really the thing that I'm most proud of. When I look back and do it.
Because I think, that's sometimes not an easy thing, because it's like, you gotta, you're doing your own stuff, but then also being able to make it bigger than yourself, and whether it's the stuff that you're doing here.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Looking to buy, sell, or rent in Monmouth or Ocean counties? Megan Carroll of RE/MAX Elite brings local expertise and personalized service. Megan will make your real estate process smooth and stress-free. Bringing Southern hospitality to the Jersey Shore, call Megan today at 732-508-7402 or visit her website at mcsellsbythesea.com.
We also talk about Asbury Underground, too, and, what that is and kind of, what that's all about.
Yeah.
I know you just gave, a really long answer, and I gave you, a really fast question.
No,
back,
it's good. It's good. Asbury Underground along those lines. Pat Scavino, who owns Art 629, many years ago, no one was coming to Cookman Avenue. All the businesses were struggling. He did an art and music crawl. I think it was a handful of art galleries. He asked friends to play. And I was one of the artists, and we went out to Johnny Mac's afterwards, and I was like, you need to make this a thing.
Yeah.
And then we brought it back the next year in October, right when all the bennies go home and the town was struggling. We would have an afternoon where we would just put original music in every storefront and everything up and down Cookman, and Yeah, it lasted until the pandemic, and then we just brought it back this past June. As part of North to Shore, sponsored it this time. So it was just great because we were able to actually like work with a budget and try to, I mean, it's not much. We have so many artists that it's like when you got
here's $20,
70 artists. It's like here's a check for $50 and 20% off. Russo Music, and a cup of coffee and a $5 Georgie's gift card for 21. So it was great to bring that back. That's another thing. It's like so getting Christine Fiola and I curate it. We book all the artists. She used to do Happy Mondays, original Happy Mondays, and had Dark City Entertainment. And we just put even our objective is that every set should be intimate. If we have an artist who's playing their third show, it's quality control, right?
Sure.
We are kind of the gatekeepers of that. No, it is. But it's not about how many people you can bring out. It's not about ticket sales. It's about quality. And so, are you good? If there's 5 people in the room when you play, there won't be. It's usually every room is packed. But are you going to make them feel something?
Sure.
And so we pick artists that do that, and sometimes and even if we have bigger artists like Nicole Atkins. We have her, and she's playing a tiny art gallery.
Yeah, right.
And then the night before that, she was playing with Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
At an amphitheater.
Not bad.
So that's the kind of idea is that these are these rare situations where you're going to see an artist who would sell out the Stone Pony in a sandwich shop on Cookman Avenue, unmiked.
Right.
And we love them. We're stoked it's back.
Did you tell me when we first talked and we started putting this all together that you have a full-time job?
Yeah.
Like, how do you find the time to do all of these? Because, as someone who also does a lot of things, like podcasts, radio station, our marketing business, all this other stuff, I'm like, I don't have enough time in the day sometimes. But, here you are, doing all these different things. It's really cool.
It's a to-do list, man. I got a fucking to-do list every morning.
The satisfaction of checking shit off the to-do list.
And it drives my wife absolutely fucking bananas because I'll sit and curate my to-do list for an hour.
Yeah.
In the
on
morning.
the to-do list is to make the next day's to-do list or whatever.
That's the last thing on the to-do list.
Yeah.
But it's always like everything in order and whatever, and that's the only way I get shit done. I spent a lot of my life, a friend of mine once recently said something about how I'm a talented songwriter or whatever. I said, I'm just not
best musician in it.
Yeah. I said, I'm just not a very ambitious one.
Sure.
Which unfortunately, or fortunately, but I spent a lot of my life just doing the bare minimum, whatever it took day to day to get through the day, make music and all that stuff. But I think you pay for it at some point.
Yeah.
So with Georgie's, Asbury Underground is a huge undertaking. It takes months and it's routing all these, different crawls so that artists aren't stepping on each other's toes.
Sure.
And a full-time day job. And I have a second job too. I also do a little light forensic accounting.
Oh, naturally, as one does,
So, but that helps because that affords to be able to really volunteer my time here and stuff like that. So it's worth it, and it's just time management. And I think, like I was saying, I fucked off for a big portion of my 20s, and I just spent the past decade making up for it.
Yeah.
By just trying to. It's like I'm atoning for my slothfully sins.
Sure. Yeah. But I think it's interesting, and I was going to ask this, but I feel like I already kind of have the answer. I was like asked about like I didn't know about the second job, but like with a full-time job, and now like kind of being involved here and like all this stuff. Like, do you have the time to like make your own music and like all this kind of stuff? And like the answer is yes, but it also seems like there's like a, like you said, like a higher calling almost, where it's kind of like inspiring others, kind of building community, you know, things and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's important.
I mean, like I said, the writing is kind of compulsive at this point. I write every day. I write part of a song every day. And I actually started the week we started working here. I took up learning the violin, which was a real fucking pain in the ass. And as you can imagine, I got pretty busy. I'm a pretty shitty violin player, but and I was watercoloring. I was learning watercolors at the same time.
Yeah.
And I actually haven't painted shit since we took this place up. But
It's on the to-do list.
you do
I'm
run
sure.
out of
Yeah.
time in the day, and I think, like I was saying before, I spent a lot of time when I was young prioritizing myself and my needs, and that's usually the last thing on the to-do list at this point.
Sure.
To make up for it. So
Yeah.
but that being said, it's making time for writing is like, it's like a meal. You have to eat. You have to have 3 meals a day.
Yeah, right.
And I have to sit down and write something, even if it's 15 minutes, even if it's something stupid that I throw in the trash.
Sure.
or
Just like
or
do
delete.
it. Like the process of doing it and like getting it out, you know? Like,
Yeah.
like holding in a sneeze. You
Yeah,
know?
and then I have chunk times. Like there's a lot of Shannon, my wife, works at the Stone Pony, so on nights when she's bartending, I'll say, okay, I'm just staying home tonight. I'm gonna just work on music and just keeping at it. I have another a side project too.
Of course you do.
We played the brewery during Asbury Underground.
Okay.
And called Church and State is the name right now. I don't know. There is a hardcore band, I think, out of New Hampshire that has that name. So I'm also writing songs for that all the time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big part of it. I've finished the songs for an album and was supposed to start scratch tracking them 2 years ago, and I'm just now getting to it because a lot of stuff has gotten in the way. And I have enough material for the next 5 fucking records.
Sure.
And I just send it all out there to friends and go, all right, tell me which ones of these are shit that I can delete and which ones I should keep. But
Yeah.
it doesn't stop.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end of this episode.
Thank God.
You were doing great, honestly. Some singers in there, some jokes, good
right.
stories, all that kind of stuff. I think
I've been practicing all week.
Yeah, really?
Just in the mirror, just trying. I don't know how to have a casual conversation.
Sure, and that's
so-
like literally what this show is. It's just like we're like literally sitting at the bar.
It's like, how do I
How does
talk to
one
another
talk
human being?
Right.
It's easy to talk about myself.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at talking about
Yeah,
myself.
and I'm asking you what to talk about
yeah.
yourself, So, okay, so with like this is gonna be like a really maybe kind of like out there question, but like, are there things kind of like coming down the pike, whether it's like your music or stuff that's happening here at Georgie's or whatever that like you're excited about that people should be aware of?
Yeah. Well, first off, Monday nights at Georgie's, original music. Every Monday, more or less. I hope people come out and check it out. It had some awesome artists, and they definitely deserve to be heard. Asbury Underground is coming back in June, part of North to Shore. I don't know if I'm supposed to announce that yet, but
Sure, whatever.
I do what I want.
Nobody listens to this show anyway, so it's
Yeah,
cool.
it's
yeah,
good,
we've only been
perfect.
doing it for 3 years, and
I'm working on a record. I'll have a Rick Barry record out in 2025, and my side project, working on a record as well. So,
Yeah.
that's. I want to say that's it, but it feels like a lot now that I'm thinking about it.
Sure, I didn't mean to put that on you. Like,
Oh, shit.
Like these are all the things you have to do in the next month, basically.
Yeah.
No, but that's great, and I wanted to make sure that we kind of retouched on some of those things too, to remind people and whatever. If they're listening to this and they want to learn more about you, they want to learn more about Georgie's, where would you send them to do that?
I think it's georgiesbarap.com, or you can look for Georgie's Bar on Facebook, and Instagram, all that stuff. We've got a great team here. Joe, the manager, Kiki, and everybody. They keep up on that stuff, and they make it easy for me and Shannon for sure. So hit them up on socials. I'm taking a break from socials post-election because I was tired of Trump motherfuckers rubbing it in my face. But I'll be back on socials after. I just want to enjoy Christmas.
Sure.
I know that I come.
Yeah.
That's a place of privilege for me to be able to say I'm going to take some time off for me. But after the holidays, I'll be back on socials where I'll be reachable. RickBarryMusic.com, my band, Rick Barry Bandcamp. I'm on Spotify, Amazon. No Wine for Kittens also.
Yep.
Available on streaming. And AsburyUnderground.com for Asbury Underground. Same
Awesome.
thing on all the socials. We'll be announcing. Follow them on Facebook and Twitter and Insta. Because we'll be, as soon as we have the lineups, we'll start leaking and announcing the artists and stuff.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thank you for doing this with us and inviting me down and, hanging out with us for a little bit.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. No, this has been great. And we'll make sure that we put all those links and stuff in the show notes so people missed one. They can just go click it. We'll also put greetingsfromthegarden8.com in there as well so you can get all of our episodes. I believe this is the last episode of the year. This will be the last one we post for 2024 and ended on a great one. So I appreciate that. Rick Barry, we were here at Georgie's Bar in Asbury Park, New Jersey. I'm Mike Ham. This has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.